Okay, this is the Long Days Journey into Film podcast. I'm Russ with my co-hosts.
Dan, hi.
And hi, I'm Liam.
And this is our first episode. So it might not, be the best thing ever, but I'm sure we'll figure out what we're doing eventually. Fred?
I certainly hope so. Otherwise, it will be this awkward all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That'd
sure
be
it'll get
kinda-
better eventually.
Yeah, and we will be talking about Ichi the Killer from 2001, directed by Takeshi Miike. Is it Miike or is it like?
It's Miike, yeah.
I think it's Miike. It's not Mike, that's for sure.
I've
Takeshi
been saying
Michael.
it as Mike. That's my bad.
Mike, you missed
Takeshi
the
Michael.
extra I there.
That was just drawn out. Mike.
Takeshi Miike.
Miike.
Mike.
Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miike.
I'll make a mental note.
Yeah. So are we gonna get right into the discussion of the movie, or is there something else we're gonna say, or what?
Well, before we start discussing the movie in depth, I think we should say briefly what we think about the movie, each of us,
Okay.
what each of us thinks about the film, and then we can start discussing it more.
Yeah. So this was my recommendation. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's in probably my top 30, I'd say. Actually, I think it's my 30th favorite movie on my favorite movies list on Letterboxd. I'll get into talking about all the different stuff I love about it, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think so. I also really love this movie. It's not like a really high favorite, but it's I'm a big admirer of what Takeshi Miike did with this, and I really like how he's not afraid of going places that a lot of filmmakers wouldn't really go. And he's just really good at making these kinds of movies, and I think he nails it.
And Dan?
Yeah, I'm probably the only one in this group that doesn't love it as much. But I'm going to summarize it for everyone here, so in case you haven't really heard about it. A sadomasochistic Yakuza enforcer, Kakihara, searches for his missing boss when he comes across Ichi, a repressed psychotic killer who may be able to inflict levels of pain that Kakihara has only dreamed of.
That's a good description.
Yeah, we probably wanted a description. Personally, it was not my style. I'm not a huge fan of Takeshi Miike. But I did actually think it was pretty cool how they explored sort of power dynamics between men and women and between classes, and you have the boss and you have the killer. That's the underling.
Oh yeah,
That
absolutely.
sort of
for sure,
feeds in. That sort of feeds into Kakihara, who
Yeah.
was pretty much he is the main character despite not being the title.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit confusing for sure. You see the posters like Kakihara and it's like Ichi the Killer, but it's not. And I get
That
why
was
it's
one of
called
my
that.
biggest complaints.
Yeah, I get why it's called that because of the manga it's based on, which I read. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's called Ichi the Killer, so I get why they named it that, but it's a bit confusing because Kakihara really is like the main focus kind of the movie. And Ichi, even though he's also a big part of the movie, it almost seems like he's like the kind of a side character almost for parts of it. You know what I mean?
It does
Yeah.
feel like that, yeah. And I fell victim to that the first time I watched it because for half the movie I thought Kakihara was Ichi and I was confused. But rewatching the movie definitely helped. Definitely helped.
Yeah, I've seen this one 4 times and once with audio commentary. I want to ask you in particular, Dan. Did you find it confusing on first watch, or what was the plot confusing? Because when I first watched it, I thought what the fuck is going on? I had no idea who the characters, what their motives were or what they were doing, or okay, this guy's with this group, they're doing this. I was completely confused, and I just kind of went along for the ride of just like experiencing it because it's a very, very crazy movie. But I had no idea what the fuck was going on when I first watched it. I was very confused.
Yeah, I mean, for like the first 20 minutes, I was trying to make sense, like doing a bit of detective work and trying to figure out who was who and what the hell is Ichi doing. Because you're kind of thrown into the world in like the first 20 minutes, and
Yeah, it's just right in there.
It's like you're thrown into an ocean and you're just trying to find that little floating, so you can actually float.
Yeah, just trying to grab onto something, or like attach yourself to something that's going on, because it's like it's kind of all over the place with like the opening scene with like it's very jarring editing and stuff, and it's definitely confusing. But after I've seen it several times, I totally get the plot and like what everyone's motives are and stuff. Except for I do have a few questions, but maybe that's more spoiler. This will be a spoiler. This will be a spoiler-free discussion until we say it's spoilers for those who haven't seen it. Because I would definitely recommend you watch this movie if you don't find some very violent and graphic stuff. But I would definitely recommend this movie if you can handle some squeamish stuff. Yeah,
it has some pretty fascinating themes, even though a lot of them are pretty heavy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think what makes this movie so good primarily is that it kind of feels like you're putting a puzzle together, and like as the movie goes, you're making more and more sense of what's going on and like who's who. So it's kind of like it's kind of supposed to be like that, and I think it works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. One element I really like of it is like the whole fuck, is that spoilers? That is kind of spoilers. I don't know. Should we just?
Okay, should we?
I just realized that most of my notes. Yeah, I just realized that most of my notes are completely spoiler filled. So.
Okay, let's lift the spoiler ban then. So, if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend you watch it. It is a masterpiece in its own senses and style.
Yeah.
Also, check out Letterboxd.
Letterboxd?
Yeah, our Letterboxd, if we link it somewhere.
Oh yeah. We'll have our accounts on Letterboxd Accounts linked down below.
Should be in the description there.
Yeah, and check it out.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and whatever you want to do.
And hit that notification bell. Smash that notification.
Yeah, smash. Someone needs to edit in that like cringy little sound effect.
Just like that green screen thing where it's like the animation.
Yeah, we gotta giveaways down there in the comment section. We don't actually have giveaways, so I'm just kidding.
And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
And honey.
And don't forget to check out our merch. We got caps, we got shirts. We have a weird coffee mug you'll never use. We don't have these things.
We
will eventually.
OnlyFans. Definitely check out my OnlyFans. That's
our OnlyFans. We share the OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually have these things. Whatever is down in the description is the only stuff. We do have the Letterboxd account, so we do have that. So we kind of, we're sort of jumping around from discussion.
We're drifting away from Ichi. We should get back to Ichi right now.
Okay, spoiler warning.
She's gonna cry if we.
Not exactly sure how we'll at what point will it stop being spoilers and we'll talk about other stuff. But spoiler discussion, spoiler warning. I would recommend you watch this movie after this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to dance around spoilers for a movie like this. So they might like jump at you any second. So I do recommend watching this movie and then coming back to this discussion.
Yeah, so first off, I just want to say half my notes here is just stuff about like I love this scene is so cool, or I love this moment that happened, and also just talking about how fucking cool Kakihara is.
Kakihara is cool, and I kind of wish I was
Yeah, you know what's odd is in the
Uh,
manga, he's a lot creepier in the manga actually. I love fuck, what's his name? I just had his name on here. The actor, Tadanobu
Tadanobu.
Asano. I might have said that wrong, but I think he plays it great. Actually,
for
I think
sure.
I like Kakihara a bit more in the movie than the manga. But the manga, he's a lot creepier. He's yeah, he's like really creepy in the manga. He's also pretty creepy in this, but
Yeah, he's
also I
really
just really
creepy.
love his clothes are really cool, like the leather and like the pink sparkly jacket he's got on one
Oh
point, and
yeah.
like I don't know, he
Right.
dresses cool,
He's
and
style.
yeah, he's
For
very
sure. But listen, I mean, even though I prefer Kakihara's character much more, I still think Ichi's character is kind of like creepier. Like,
yeah, with
uh,
the crying is really fucking
Yeah.
creepy.
it's
Whenever he
just
kills someone or is about to or whatever.
yeah, he's
It's
definitely the
And
darkest. Like, it's kind of like when you just like take a second and think about it. Like his character is incredibly dark. Like what's happening to him and everything.
yeah, and like the whole that was actually an element I wanted to talk about a little bit. Was the hypnotism. I think his name is Gigi or Gigi.
Yeah.
Um, I saw in the subtitles. I'm not sure if it's the same versions that you watched, but it says like Gigi in parentheses old fart. So I guess I don't know if they were just like calling that kind of like old man or something, or if that was actually his name, Gigi. I'm not really sure. But Shinya Tsukamoto's character, um, it's sort of it's not implied. They say it at one point that he has Ichi under like hypnotism to like
Yes.
control his memories and like or the fake memories. Apparently he killed his parents and like went nuts. Um,
Well, I think he did
and
actually kill his parents, like in real life, and then he kind
no,
of like
yeah, he did. And then Gigi or whatever, he took that and used it to use his memories or whatever um, to get him to use him as a hitman, basically.
right.
And yeah, it's definitely a very dark character. Um,
Yeah, and
it's very
it's
twisted
very
story.
sad as
And like,
well.
you know what I really love about it actually is like the entire movie is just like there's really no good guys. Like even though you can kind of see Ichi as a good guy, but like he's really not.
No,
You know,
definitely not.
maybe and like it's just mostly like terrible people doing terrible things to each other. I guess pretty much the whole movie.
And that's what we want
And
to see
like
sometimes.
yeah, and I think it really works for that. It's like it's just a really that's what it is, and it's like even yeah, so like none of the characters also like I don't think a single character gets out of it like in a better place or with it dying or like being horribly mutilated in some way. Like um yeah, there's something else about the very ending, but we can talk about that a bit later. So
Yeah.
any general thoughts on the characters or plot or anything in particular?
Yeah, no, I
Honestly,
agree.
yeah. Ichi is
Uh,
probably the I think in some sense you kind of want to sympathize with him, but honestly, he's twisted in just a really sinister way. That
Yeah, because like
he can't get sympathy for him. I can't
it's
sympathize with him.
it's
yeah,
conflicting, yeah, and it's kind of what it's trying to make you feel because Ichi as a character himself is conflicted because like he's like he wants it feels like he has desire to inflict pain upon people, but at the same time it's like he has guilt that he feels, but at the same time like you can't feel sympathy for him.
yeah, one thing I think at the like beginning, or I forget what point in the movie exactly it is, but for like the first maybe half of the movie, maybe first 40 minutes or so, he's weird. He's like the whole thing standing outside watching him for whatever beat up the girl, and then he talks to her and he says like he's gonna kill him for her, and then he does, and then he's like now I can beat you up instead, and
Exactly.
it's like he's not yeah he's like even it's almost like he and like, yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like he feels bad after he kills people. And it's like when he's like hiding under the blanket from his room or whatever. So yeah, he's definitely a very conflicted character. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's what
especially
makes him interesting. Even though I like Kakihara more, just because like I think he steals every scene he's in. But like yeah, Ichi's a more I don't know. He's
it's
definitely a more they're both interesting characters. They both got depth to their characters. I think they're not.
I still feel like kind of Ichi's a kind of like a deeper character, but
Yeah.
Kakihara is because you don't really know much about Kakihara technically. Like Ichi, you get like some background. Kakihara, you just know like what you know. You don't really know anything about him apart like from what you're told in the movie, like what's happening.
Yeah, and like I really love the whole thing with Kakihara. He's like looking for his boss because he would beat him up or whatever, and then he finds out about Ichi and he's like kind of excited about it. He's like, "Oh, who is this Ichi?" You know, and like towards the end, especially, he's like, "You know, who is this guy? He's gonna these horrible things," and he's like really excited about it. I think that's interesting.
And yeah, this is a great example, like a character-driven movie, because like this, if you like the premise itself is pretty simple. Just the guy's looking for his boss that's been kidnapped by another character. But like since the characters are so interesting, that's what makes it work, and that's what makes it so like such a complex movie.
Well, also, he wasn't kidnapped. He killed him at the beginning, and then they cleaned it up so good that they just think he's kidnapped. Yeah.
Kakihara doesn't know that until like 3/4 of the way through the film.
Yeah, it's almost like he's in like in denial about it. Kind of, he's like, "No, he's not dead. You know, we're gonna find him." Yeah.
I really like that. I mean, I said this before, but like it has like a lot of comedy in the movie. Like it's not like inherent, like deep down, it's not really a comedic movie, but it has a lot of comedic moments. Like I wrote down a few that are just it has a few like moments where the comedy works very well, and it's not like try hard like in comedic style. Like it flows. It's very natural.
Yeah, it's not a comedy, but it's still really funny. Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
Dan, did you find it funny? Because I thought it was really funny, actually.
Not really. I can see why it is. Miike does have a lot of comedy to him, like a twisted sense of comedy that I kind of like too.
He has a great sense of humor.
Mixed with the themes, it came off a little strange to me rather than funny.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like, yeah, the entire movie is very mean spirited, I think, but it's also funny, and I think that kind of works for it because it's never really it's very clear what type of movie it is, you know.
Yeah, no, I think the comedy all works very well, and it never tries to go further than it should, in that sense. Of course, the movie does go pretty far in other.
Yeah, it is. Apparently, it's still banned in some countries. Like I read on IMDb. Actually, I'm not sure if this is an old thing. Maybe this is updated by now, but it said like apparently in Norway, like if you own it, you can be like fined or even like I guess just owning a banned movie, but like specifically this one was banned. It's like other places too. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it was like when it first came out, it was like very controversial. There was a thing they at premieres of it, they like handed out barf bags.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy to me that like, because I mean I understand like the controversial movie, but like, and it deals with like some disturbing themes like rape and masochism and stuff like that. But I mean as a whole, like when you the gore and stuff, it's very like it's very unrealistic, and it's like kind of feels like you're in a Spy Kids movie at times.
Really, yeah, like, it's very
that scene where the Ichi cuts that guy in half. That was
funny. Yeah. The CGI. That's one thing I will say. This isn't even really a negative, I'd say. I think it's sort of funny, but the CGI is pretty bad in it, and it's pretty noticeable too.
But I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, I watched the commentary, and Miike talked a lot about the CGI or the CG team and stuff, and they said that they did put a lot of work into it. But it wasn't. He said that they were putting in more work than he actually wanted. It's like they do it, and he said, "Oh, that's fine," but they like wanted to do it until it was better and better. Just like, yeah, like some scenes, like specifically, I'm thinking of the scene where Ichi goes and kills the whole room full of Kakiharu's guys, and you just see blood squirting out the door, and it's like that looked like really bad CGI blood.
Yeah, that felt very slapstick kind of humor.
Yeah, but it's like exactly. It's not like it's
Like a
trying to be like
cartoon.
a. It's not trying to be like a really disturbing realistic. It's like it's got a very almost like fantasy, not fantasy, but like it's got a very over the top tone. And that's one thing I wanted to say. It really captures the tone of the manga very well, and a lot of manga and anime live action adaptations. Sometimes the characters just look like they're like cosplaying. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like looks really cheesy because it's like everyone's normal and then they have like these really cheesy costumes. But like it's a Miike movie, it's a Takeshi Miike movie. And it's really weird. And it just works. I think that's just like I think Miike can do like a really good anime or manga adaptation. He's like the best at that, at least that I've seen.
Oh yeah, no, that's kind of his whole thing. It feels like he has a lot of those movies.
Yeah, he's got like he's an interesting director because he does like 2 or 3 movies a year. I'm not sure if he's still doing that many now, but like he's got like well over like 130 movies in his filmography because he's been doing that since like the early 90s. And he's got some. I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen like 20, 25 of them. But he's got some hit or miss ones. But I'd say when he's hit, he's like got some really good stuff.
I'm still relatively new to his filmography, but I'd say Ichi the Killer is probably my favorite so far.
I definitely like to talk about some of his other stuff on here.
For sure, yeah.
Gozu and Audition and Dead or Alive.
Mine's probably 13 Assassins, definitely.
Yeah, that one's really good too. Yeah, I need to rewatch that. At one point I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna watch a whole bunch of Takeshi Miike movies, and I watched like 15 of them in like 3 days, and like they all blended together, and like I really need to rewatch some of them because some of them are really good, and some of them are like mediocre, and they just blended together. So, like I watched that and Blade of the Immortal right back to back, and both are like samurai movies with a lot of action, and like yeah, I need to rewatch them.
I mean, there's always Zebra Man.
Zebra Man?
Yeah, it's another Miike film. It's
Zebra Man.
What? A failed teacher tries to escape everyday life by dressing up as Zebra Man, the superhero.
That sounds great. I mean, Takeshi Miike,
That looks
Zebra,
awesome.
What is it like? Is it like based on a comic or something?
Let me double check.
I'm adding that to the watch list.
Yeah, he's got some interesting because like he can do really serious like Audition. Like that's a very grounded
it's a very
movie.
deep
like,
movie for sure.
Yeah, it's not over the top at all. And then he'd go on to do something like Happiness of the Katakuris, where it's like a completely off the wall, weird like comedy musical. And then he'll do like I feel like a lot of people think of him as either like he makes like Yakuza movies or he makes like horror movies. Like he's got like a lot of weird stuff. Like he's got a whole bunch of like children's stuff, like a whole bunch of like children's television, apparently. And yeah, he's just a very interesting director.
He's got like great range for sure. And having watched like the Happiness of the Katakuris and Audition, it feels like Ichi the Killer is kind of like a byproduct of both these films. Like it has the comedy
it's like a halfway
of the Katakuris, but it has the serious kind of themes of Audition. Like it's kind of like a mix of both.
Yeah, for sure. Like maybe a bit of Visitor Q in there too.
Yeah.
Some of the dark themes plus comedy. Yeah, like I keep saying comedy and it's funny, but like I would say Ichi the Killer doesn't try to be funny at all. It's not like, man, okay, we're gonna, Kakiharu's gonna crack a joke now. It's just like sort of naturally funny.
For sure, yeah. The comedy, what makes it funny is that it's so natural. Like it just happens. Like I really like the scene. It's a small moment, but it's like when Kakiharu's he's thrown out of the syndicate and he just like walks out the door and then he comes back in and then he just like the door hits Suzuki, who's like
oh yeah,
has the bandages on his head. He just falls down, starts yelling, and that was so funny because it was just so natural. Like another moment that made me crack up, and just yeah, it's another small thing, but it's like when Kakihara is asking his men who's willing to stay with him, and then that one dude with long hair is like, "Yo, I'm out."
And he stabs him in the foot.
He stabs him in the foot, and then the next scene, you just see him walking like beside Kakihara with like this like massive wooden thing, like just
Yeah.
freaking stabbed to his foot. And it was so funny.
Yeah, something. I couldn't really tell who was who in the commentary, but it was two guys, Takeshi Miike and the writer of the manga, manga artist. What's his name? Hideo Yamamoto. I forget which one it was, but one of them pointed out it's like in some of the scenes, something violent will be happening, but like the characters really won't be reacting to it. They'll just kind of be there, and like in other movies, it would be like that's the center point of the scene. But in this, it's like, Kakihara's just like slowly like sticking a needle in someone's face, and everyone's just kind of sitting there watching. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because it's so natural in this world of the Yakuza type of stuff,
Yeah, and everyone's just so used to it.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny seeing everyone's different reactions to just like what Kakihara was doing. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. I love the oil scene. It's such a.
Oh yeah.
I really loved that was another thing I was going to point out was the practical effects are great. Like the CGI is pretty bad, but the special effects are great. Like the oil scene when he's got like he's all like strung up with the hooks in his back, or like the scene when the guy punches Kakihara, but he degloves his hand with his mouth. Like that looked great. Just like all the practical effects and practical gore and stuff look great in it.
For sure, it has some great gore. Like I'm not really someone who's like affected by gore, but I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, me neither.
There were some scenes in this movie that like kind of got me.
Yeah, the tongue.
Just, like the tongue scene. I'm sensitive to that shit. Like that got me.
Because like you think it would like cut away or something. I'm not gonna spoil it, but that's probably my second favorite tongue cutting scene. There's another whatever, that's a dumb reference, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah, similar movie, South Korean movie, beloved South Korean movie. But there's a scene where a guy cuts his tongue off, and it cuts away. But like in this, he cuts it, and it really does look like he's cutting his tongue. It's a really good effect, at least at first when he's cutting it.
Yeah, and that's why it feels like when they wanted to do like actual serious effects, like they did it, but when they wanted it to look over the top, like
when it turned into a cartoon with the blood spraying everywhere, or the guy splitting in half or whatever.
Man, I think all that was a good call. Like what they intended for to look over the top works, and what they intended for to look realistic works as well.
Yeah, or like the scene when I forget what exactly it is, but Kakihara and the girl, what's her name? It's like Karen, I think.
Kara.
Something like that. I'm not sure, but she speaks English for most of the movie, which I thought was a bit odd. And F1 just seems to understand her.
I guess she's American.
I think she was in the commentary. They said she was from Hong Kong, and that she went between speaking English and Chinese and Japanese, and that it was sort of just a thing in the movie, I guess, that it's like everyone understands whatever language. Maybe this is because I'm a dumb American, but I couldn't tell when people were speaking Chinese and when people were speaking Japanese. Apparently there was Chinese, people were speaking Chinese at some points in the movie, but I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, me either. I did not know that.
But it was kind of like there's no, like, the language barrier kind of just doesn't exist in this universe. That's what Miike said in the commentary. But anyway, Kakihara and Karen, they go to it's just like a heroin dealer or something, to like find out where the junkie guy is, and he like grabs her hand and like breaks her fingers backwards. And it's like that was like a oof, kind of just a cringe in a good way cringe, not like that was a great effect, just like cracks backwards, and yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, it has some effective moments for sure, but I never thought it was like disturbing. Maybe that's just because I've seen a lot of these types of movies, but I never thought it was actually like disturbing. Maybe the themes in it, but just the actual like what they show and stuff.
Yeah, and I also like that the effect. Well, that's also an over the top one. But when Ichi like he uses his kind of his shoe blades kind of on, and then there's that effect where just blood kind of just sprays in an over the top.
Oh
way.
yeah.
It's really cool. It kind of pays homage to like older Japanese films, like samurai films. Like the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, I remember they had that effect.
I need to see those.
I've seen the first one. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think they get better and better as they go, personally. But I haven't seen like the last two.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of a funny quote I saw on a DVD of Ichi the Killer. Hold on, let me see, where is it? Oh yeah, Ichi the Killer is probably the Citizen Kane of arterial spray movies, or at least the Casablanca.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
I remember this.
Yeah,
that was brilliant.
Yeah. But if it's the Casablanca, I wonder what the Citizen Kane would be.
Yeah. What would? Maybe like Kill Bill.
Kill Bill. Oh yeah, Kill Bill also had that blood spring effect. That's the other movie I was looking for. I was like, I saw another movie like that.
Tarantino has been known, has even commented on Miike's films before, hasn't he? He's very much.
Yeah,
he's a big fan of Audition. He said that's one of his favorite films.
Yeah,
I don't know about
also,
the other ones.
In the commentary, Miike said that first off, I guess Tarantino loves Ichi the Killer. He said it was really great and loved it. And he said that specific scene where I forget the actor's name, but it's the big guy who was yelling at Russ. He said that he loved that scene so much that he got that guy to be in Kill Bill. I forget who he plays in Kill Bill. Actually, let me look up the guy's name. It was like Takayama.
Was the character's
name? Jim Sugata. Yeah. Like the big like Kakihara's kind of. He always goes around with his group.
Oh, Shun Sugata.
Yeah. He was in Kill Bill. Who was he in Kill Bill? Let's see.
Was he one of those like the Black Society?
He was in Boss Benta.
Was he one of those guys in like that boardroom?
Yeah, when they're all talking with
Maggie. What's her name? What's that actress's name? Lucy Liu. Yeah. And she kills them all. I think he's one of those.
Chops the one guy's head off, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And then like
Boss Benta. Yeah, I bet it was in that scene. But yeah, apparently, he loved him so much in Ichi the Killer that he got him to. It seems like a Tarantino movie. Ichi the Killer. It seems like something he'd like.
What I find interesting about Miike is that he said before in an interview that he doesn't intentionally make violent films. He makes sort of character pieces that usually end up being violent because that's where the characters go.
Yeah.
You can see that in Ichi the Killer because you've got two different polar opposites of sadism. There's sadomasochism and there's the sadist that feels guilty for it, and you just see those two working around their own situation and the death disappearance of Kakihara's boss.
And that's like that's naturally how it would work out, is for it to be a very violent movie. Yeah. That's actually something interesting. I read about the what's his name? The guy who made the manga. I have it here. Hideo Yamamoto. He said that the manga is actually like sort of a romance because of the Kakihara's obsession with like pain and his like the dynamic between him and Ichi, and like how he's like actually that's one thing I wanted to bring up about the ending that I really loved in the movie. So would it be okay if I spoiled the ending to the manga because it's different?
I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
we did say spoiler warning, so
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And for anyone who hasn't read the manga and is into that type of thing, I recommend them. I recommend the manga too. It's pretty much like same exact story and everything. But in the manga, um, actually, I guess we should say the movie first. So in the movie, Ichi finally catches up with Kakihara, and they're on the rooftop and that whole thing. Kakihara's all excited, and then Ichi just kind of after he kills the what was his name? Kanaka, I think. It was like the one of Kakihara's guys. Then he just starts crying and laying on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Kakihara was so severely disappointed.
Kaneko.
Yeah, Kaneko.
Kaneka, yeah. I have something to say about him too, but a little bit. Then Kakihara stabs himself in the ears, and at least this is how I see it. I'm pretty sure this was the intention. That he imagines Ichi runs over and beats him up and kicks him off the rooftop and then he dies. But I think he actually just killed himself. He just jumped off because when he falls down, when Ichi was fighting him, he like cut his forehead. And then when Shinya Tsukamoto's character, what was the name, Gigi or whatever, he sees him at the bottom and he like moves his hair and there's no mark on his forehead. So I saw that he was just so disappointed, he just jumped off and killed himself. And I think that's a really interesting ending because it's like, you know, his boss is gone, Karen's gone, even though she didn't seem to be satisfying him with whatever she was doing, beating him up or whatever. And now Ichi is just complete disappointment. So he's just, that's it. There's no one left to kill me, so he just killed himself.
It feels like he was living his whole life for Ichi at this point. Like Ichi was the only thing that was like worth it.
Yeah,
for
it's
him.
like even though he's been like torturing people and doing horrible things the whole movie, I kind of feel bad for him at the very end there when he.
Because it's a weird thing to want, but all he wanted was like someone to inflict the levels of pain that his boss was, and he was living for pain essentially. And now that he couldn't get be satisfied, and without satisfaction, obviously he couldn't get it. He couldn't live anymore.
And that's what's so weird about the manga. So in the manga, Ichi catches up with them. Yeah, Ichi is like completely crazed. I kind of forget why, but he's like completely loses it at that point. And he chases him around. He like cuts his arm off. He like slashes them all up, and then Kakihara tries to jump from one building to the next, and like misses, and then falls and dies, and is like falling. And he's like, "Yo, this is great," or whatever, and it dies. And what's weird about that is I feel like that really deflates kind of the character arc because in the movie he's completely disappointed, but in the manga it's like even though he dies, he kind of lives out his fantasy or whatever of Ichi being this horrible monster that does this to him. And I feel like it's just a very different ending. And like that's why in the manga, the guy who made it said it's sort of a romance because of it all builds up to this one thing. And like, I don't know. I mean, it's not really a romance. It's not romantic at all. But like, between the sadist and the masochist type of thing, because it's the two extremes. But I don't know. I prefer the movie ending. I think it's like way better. It's like everyone loses, kind of fits the like really dark tones of the movie. I think a lot more than the ending of the manga.
So just to clear it up, like once again, spoiler warning because that is going to be a spoiler. But that person that was hanging from the tree at the end, that was Gigi, wasn't it?
That's something I was going to talk about. So the first couple times I watched it, I was like, wait, what? Like I had no idea what happened there. And then, yeah, so the way I see it, Kanaka, whatever the guy's name, he was like he used to be a police officer or whatever he said. His kid, who's like kicking Ichi, he's like mad because he just killed his father and he's like kicking him.
That was a great scene, by the way.
Yeah, that was. That's like one of my favorite movie climaxes, kind of, even though it's like technically anticlimactic because there's no big fight, but I love that whole scene. He's fighting, he's like beating him up. And then Gigi, after he sees Kakihara's dead, he kind of just looks up like, oh shit, and then runs back up, and it cuts to him hanging there. And then you see a kid walking away, and he turns around, and it looks like a slightly older version of, I think his name was Takeshi, I think was the kid's name. And so
yes.
I see it that implied that he kind of got revenge maybe because he knew what Gigi did with Ichi maybe to get him to kill his father. But this is where I have some questions and some stuff I don't think really makes sense in the plot. But yeah, I took it that he killed Gigi, that he, I guess, hung him there, or killed him and hung him there. But something I don't really get is, first off, what is Gigi's motivation for doing all of this? Is he just, was he trying to kill Kakihara in particular? Because he seems so happy when he finally sees him there dead. Or does he just like get off on manipulating people? Or, because like the whole thing is like, he's manipulating Ichi, he manipulates Kakihara to like do the whole thing. He gives him faulty information or whatever about the guy that he does the whole oil thing to. He's pitting everyone against each other, and then like everyone dies. But like, what was his motivation? Like, what was the point of it? Even Karen, like at one point, it's kind of hinted at that she's also under his hypnotism, kind of too. So it's like, yeah, like what was his motivation for all that though? And it's not very clear. In the manga, it's a lot more clear, but I didn't quite get in the movie like what the point of everything he did was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I that is an interesting thing. I don't know if he has like a concrete motivation. Actually, like it is kind of hard to pinpoint. My guess is that he's just kind of trying to rise to the top. You know, just kind of putting all these powerful gangs against each other, and then I guess he's just trying to make his way to the top. Kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, because in the manga, he was specifically. There's actually a lot more emphasis on this than in the movie, but there's a whole thing about that like apartment complex was like Yakuza mansion that was like where all the bad guys are, and he was like trying to empty it out. He was just trying to like get everyone killed out, everyone in there killed. That was sort of it's still not completely clear why he was doing that, if he had like what he was trying to do, but it was a bit more clear in the manga, and also he at the very end he Ichi I kind of forget, even though I just read it the other day, but I think he completely just sort of loses it in the manga. And then Gigi, he takes the kid, the Kanaka's kid, and he says like, "Oh, here, come with me. I'll take care of you. I'm actually your uncle. I'm a friend of your dad's, or I mean, either it's something like that." And it's sort of implied that he's gonna like turn him into the next Ichi. And it's like a really dark ending because it's like it just kind of starts over because I guess that's how he got Ichi in the first place. But like I don't know if that's what it was implied in the movie, that like maybe he did that and then he killed Gigi the kid, or if Gigi may just like got his revenge later on or when he was older. Any thoughts on that ending or anything?
No, not really. Like, I was kind of confused by it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gigi, I don't know if Gigi purposefully meant left without some sort of clear motivation, rather just as a sort of foil to
Everyone,
Ichi and
basically.
Kakihara. So just someone to like accentuate the other two.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think it was clear. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it was trying to give him a specific motivation.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. You know, I guess yeah, it makes sense just because I don't think like that's what we're supposed to focus on. I don't think that's what matters. I think what matters is kind of the Ichi and Kakihara and kind of their dynamic. But like what brings them together is not really important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's also a very unique take on like a Yakuza movie, because a lot of those types of like gangster type movies always a lot of them kind of fall into the same cliches and stuff, and this one really doesn't. It's very unique because like you said, it's about the characters. It's not about the Yakuza or about it is about Kakihara and Ichi.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this movie.
Yeah, it's so unique, very unique. Yeah, so Dan, since you seem to not like it as much as we did, Is there anything that you specifically disliked about it? Like anything griped
I
with it?
mean,
Because like,
I didn't dislike it, but I couldn't say I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a very enjoyable watch. Like I didn't really go into. I wasn't really super having a lot of fun or anything, but I did actually think it was really good. I thought that the way who's the writer? The writer's name has left me.
let
Oh,
me.
the way Miike presented Kakihara and Ichi was actually interesting to look at. Kakihara is definitely my favorite character out of all of them, or maybe even Karen. I like Karen's character too.
Yeah,
I think the power dynamic between Kakihara and Karen, Kakihara and his boss was really. It was interesting to actually see how they played out, and you don't really see a lot of films exploring masochism as much.
yeah,
Yeah,
You can
I
see
think
it
that's
in
a
some
very
Hanukkah
fantastic.
films, but like
yeah.
mainstream,
I was gonna say, yeah,
not really.
yeah. I was gonna say, another great movie. I would actually say it's probably better than this one. It's going for a um, very different point of the movie and a very different tone. But the piano teacher,
Yes.
Yeah,
by
exactly.
is it Michelle Haneke, Michael Haneke? I'm not sure. But that's a
Well, I
very
said
interesting
Michael.
movie about.
Yeah, they're very like they seem like total opposite movies, but really they kind of deal with the same themes, like just
Yeah, because
getting
like the
pleasure
Sexual
from pain.
repression.
Exactly.
repression, masochism, and like the dynamics of control, like between the. I
Yes.
won't spoil anything in that movie, but that would be interesting. We need to talk about some Haneke films at some point
Yeah,
on the podcast
definitely.
because he's a very interesting director.
Yeah.
Yeah, the writer, you said writer's name is Sakichi Sato, I think, the writer of Ichi.
Ah,
Yeah, he wrote Gozu too, which I wasn't aware of that. That's like if Takeshi Miike made like a David Lynch movie. That's really weird, very insane movie. But apparently, the guy who wrote Ichi and Gozu also wrote Ichi Origins, which is the prequel, which isn't directed by Miike, but has the same guy who played Ichi. What's his
he also
name?
acted in Kill Bill,
Mhm.
apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watched the prequel, Ichi Origins or One Ichi, which and it was terrible. I really didn't like it at all. It felt like even though it had the same guy playing Ichi, and he was good in it. He played it about the same. It was felt really felt like high school students made it or something, or like teenagers made it in their backyard. Very amateurish, just really cheesy, but like in a bad way. Um, yeah. Also, just real quick, I also watched the anime adaptation, Ichi the Killer episode 0, which I think it was supposed to be like a whole series, but they just made the first episode and then maybe just never finished it or it got canned or something. But that was interesting. It was a cool take on it, seeing it in anime form, but it really wasn't anything great.
So what does it cover? Is it like the same story but like animated, or is it like does it like further the story or?
It does a little bit. So it starts out. It actually like the opening scene is the like last final confrontation between Ichi and Kakihara. It looks like it was going for the manga one where he cuts his arm off and stuff. And it starts with that, and that cuts all the way back. There is a prequel manga. I think it's also called Ichi Origins. But and I think it might explain this. I'm not sure, but I haven't read it. I just read the main Ichi one. But it's like Ichi is like with his family, and he's like he's a sadist, and I think he's just in high school. I don't think he really knows how to deal with it, and then he ends up killing his parents, and he's like in a placed in like a asylum type of thing, or not house or whatever. And like Gigi kind of picks him up and says like, "Oh, I'll take care of him," and that's sort of like the origin of like how he'll control him to be sort of his personal, you know, hitman type of thing. So that was interesting, but I didn't think the I didn't think the anime particularly. I don't know. It wasn't really didn't really have the same tone exactly as the movie or the manga.
And
Um,
Miike wasn't involved in any of these, right?
no,
Like
no,
the
same writer
prequel and
though.
all that. Because here's the thing, like what we said this earlier, like about like Gigi not really needing to have like a motivation. I
Hmm.
think like having a prequel to Ichi is kind of unnecessary because like the movie is
Exactly,
kind of about the
exactly.
characters and like
Yeah,
their dynamic, and like we don't need to explore Ichi as a character. We don't need to explore what happened to him. Like the whole point of the movie is like what's happening now and like the story, and we don't need to like go in depth about him or
yeah. It's like the
anything like
interesting
that.
part of Ichi's story is happening in the movie. And
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. It's like the prequel is just sort of the same thing. He's like going around and he's real shy and he's like um, being bullied or whatever. And it's just like yeah, it's just not as interesting. And like I do think like with Gigi, um, the sort of thing like he picked him up as like and took him in sort of thing. It works in the manga. It wasn't in the Ichi manga, but I assume it was in the prequel. I'm not sure. He picks him up and then he picks up the other kid at the end of Ichi the Killer. Um, I thought that was sort of interesting. But something it's not really clear what happens to Ichi after the movie ends. Um, like it just kind of ends. He's laying there crying, and the kid's beating him up. Like it's implied that maybe I doubt it because he's just a kid. But like it's implied that maybe he kills him. I'm not really sure. Like because not Ichi kills the kid, but the kid kills Ichi. I'm not really sure. It's just like they leave that kind of open ended. Like what happens to him because if the kid killed Gigi, like kind of weird that go. But also, like you
Yeah.
said, that's not really the point. It was about Kakihara and Ichi's, but still, I thought that was a bit, not really sure what happened there. Wasn't very clear.
Yeah, and it's interesting, kind of like what happens to the kid, because yeah, that person that turns around at the end of the movie in the final shot, is an older, yeah, like you said,
And
and
like
it
the
kind of feels
crow,
like he becomes a sort of version of Ichi, but like just like different, kind of. It's hard to explain this, but like kind of mirroring Ichi, but like with different motivations, and kind of feels like he's an opposite sort of.
exactly. And like maybe I'm wrong about this, but was he sort of wearing like not Ichi's like his like superhero outfit costume with a one, not that, but like was he sort of wearing something like Ichi was wearing, like a hoodie
He was, because
and
I thought it was
yeah,
Ichi at first. Then he turned around. And I was like, wait, that's not Ichi. But like, I thought it was
yeah.
him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what they were going for. Also, here's a quick thing about Gigi. Um, why did he say Kanaka is your brother? Like, what was the point of him saying that? Because like the whole movie, he's saying, "Oh, these guys look like your bullies. You're gonna get revenge on them or whatever." But why did he say that was his brother? Like,
Yeah, I was
because he
confused about
kills
that.
him.
Yeah,
Like, I don't see um why he did that. Because in the manga, again, back to this, he said he said that, oh yeah, I know this guy Kanaka. I know I'm friends with him, and then Gigi used that as like, oh, in high school you were friends with the guy, and then he was also he bullied you too to fit in, and then that was sort of a motivation to kill Kanaka, even though he was friends with him. But I didn't see the point of that in the movie. Like, I didn't see the point of saying that's your brother. Like the first time I watched it, I thought, oh wait, so that's his brother, and I thought that was just like a weird like twist like thrown in, like, oh, this is your long lost brother, but like it's clear that it's not. He's just saying that, but I don't get why. You know what I mean? Like I don't see what motivation that would give to Ichi. Like I don't get that. That's just a very particular thing, but I don't know.
I don't know if there's really a real like reason. It just felt kind of random. A lot of things in the movie felt really random.
Yeah,
Um, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was a very like a real reason. And if some of you are big fans of this movie, you can tell us that in the comments, like the reason. But I can't really think of one. I think it's just kind of like a random like. Um,
yeah. Maybe on my fifth or sixth watch, I'll pick something up because like I said before, when I first watched it, I really had no idea what was going on. I just, with the plot or the characters, I just kind of followed like the basic, okay, Kakihara doing this, Ichi doing this. And then after I watched it a few more times, every time I sort of pick up on something else, I was like, oh, so this is what was happening here, and it connects to this. So yeah, I'm sort of talking a lot, but I guess it's just because I really like this movie. I have a lot to say about it. I don't know. I'll hope I'm not talking too much over everyone.
No,
That's the kind of the idea of a podcast, to talk
exactly.
too much.
Yeah.
We can just sit here in silence. That would work.
Guys, it was pretty good so far. All right.
Yeah.
See you next week.
I think though we can't have a discussion about this movie though without talking about one of the absolute funniest scenes in cinema history, and that's when Gigi takes off his shirt.
Fuck, I almost didn't bring this up. How did I forget about that?
We have. That was the first time I watched that. I was absolutely shocked at how.
Yeah, Shinya Tsukamoto's head on top of this completely ripped bodybuilder's body. It's such so hilarious.
It looks so fake and so funny.
Yeah, I love that. That's just such a great. You know what's funny about that though is so in the manga, I gotta go back to this because it is a very faithful adaptation of the manga. It pretty much follows the story beat for beat and the characters and everything. But in the manga, Gigi, he's like he's really short, and he looks like an old man. Apparently, he had like his like facial surgery or whatever to look like an old man so he can trick people or something. But he's on steroids. He's constantly taking steroids. So he's completely pumped, he's completely ripped, but he's covered up in like a little trench coat or whatever, so he doesn't look like it. But in the movie, that's just like completely out of nowhere. That's so hilarious. It's just it's such a great scene. Like
one of the scenes that is body or
whatever. Yeah, Shinya Tsukamoto. He's an interesting director, all on his own. I'd like to talk about some of his movies at some point.
Yeah, I need to watch more of his movies. I mean, of course, I've seen like Tetsuo, which is kind of like his big film. Like,
yeah, I need to see that.
He has a lot of other smaller ones.
Yeah, I've seen a few other ones. Tokyo Fist is pretty good. Kotako, I think it's called, is pretty good. He's got some interesting
I want to watch Bullet Ballet.
Bullet Ballet.
That's the one.
Oh yeah, that's a really he's got an interesting style. And he usually stars in his own movies. Also, here's a little fun fact here. The opening credits, there's when Ichi is watching the guy, pimp or whatever, beat up the girl. And then the guy looks out and there's like cum on the plant. That's real cum. Real semen. According to Miike, that's mostly Shinya Tsukamoto.
Oh, was it mostly from him?
Yeah, he supplied it, and then there wasn't enough, so some of the CG crew contributed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And,
I didn't know he.
I just think that's great. That the actual title appears in it. That's CG, obviously, but that's real. So yeah, Miike with that authenticity.
Yeah, that's such a crazy fact. Like he would totally do that, and
Yeah, I thought it was funny that it's mostly Shinya Tsukamoto. That's kind of funny. Actually, let me look through my notes. I wrote down all this stuff, but I don't know. I pretty much brought up all my main points about it.
Yeah, me too.
Something real quick. I do see a lot of people criticizing it for all its violence against women, and how every female character is horribly mistreated. But every character in the whole movie is horribly mistreated. The entire movie, every character is brutalized in some way. So I don't feel like it's particularly misogynistic in some way.
Yeah, I think it's all the violence, whether it be against men or women in this film, is completely necessary for what it's trying to. For what it's trying to say, really, for the movie.
Yeah, for sure. It's not. Yeah, I don't think it's particularly directed at. Yeah, I see that a lot of on Letterboxd reviews, some of them, half star. I hate this movie because of this or that, and.
But side note, though, I do feel really bad for that one prostitute in the movie because, it's not a criticism of the movie. It's just generally because in every single scene you see her in, like no exaggeration, she's either getting beat up or tortured or raped or something.
Yeah.
She never catches a break. And it's like,
wait,
Yeah.
wait, do you mean the like at the beginning when Ichi kills
that woman, yeah. And then she
Okay,
gets her
'cause
nipples
I think
cut off.
that's not the same one though.
Is it
No,
not?
it's he kills her after he splits the guy in half.
Oh, he
He like
does. Oh
places
my,
her.
yeah.
And then later
Yeah.
later in the movie, actually yeah, with the torture and then actually that's a sort of an odd scene. Kanaka, that guy, he's sort of like the whole movie, he's just sort of a he's just kind of there. He's kind of not exactly like he's a good guy, but he doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. But then he just snaps and he starts kicking her and he kills her. And it's like that's just like sort of like, man, I expect that from this character.
It's interesting because it just shows his breaking point, and
Yeah.
everyone has that.
Yeah.
It was a great character exploration. And this movie is great at
Yeah, so many great
character work
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows like Tanaka. We thought he was just this calm, just more on the good side because nobody's really good in this movie, like we've established. But it's interesting that it finally shows his breaking point, like that late in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really, really great characters overall. It's definitely the best part. And like, I hear people saying this movie's boring. Like, how? How is this movie boring? It's
That
like
is-
even if you're not following the plot closely, it's like just like seeing what's happening in each scene. There's always something happening. It's not like it's not a Michael Bay movie where it's constant action, but like, yeah, it's just. I feel like scene to scene is just like very interesting. I mean, I've seen it 4 times, and like I can definitely see myself rewatching this. I think it's really rewatchable, even though it's over
very
2 hours.
rewatchable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's definitely not a boring movie. And even in terms of like, sometimes a movie's like heavy and you can't rewatch it. Like this movie deals with like heavy themes, but it's not a heavy movie, I think.
Yeah, it's like definitely some really dark stuff, but yeah, I don't think it's like, man, you're not gonna walk away from this movie depressed. Like
For
even though I
sure.
don't really have that problem, like people say like something like say Come and See, the war movie. It's like, oh, I can only watch this movie once. It's a masterpiece, but like I don't really have that. I can watch heavy and dark movies like over and over. I really don't. I'm not offended or disturbed easily.
I think it's just sort of like if you feel uncomfortable with it, but I still make myself uncomfortable. Like I willingly put myself in that situation.
I know what you mean. It's definitely not not something you want to watch with the family, that's for sure. But like, yeah, it is some pretty uncomfortable stuff. I'm kind of just jumping all over the place with like what I'm talking about and going back to stuff. I don't know. I'm guessing that I'll get better at talking in a more structured way for the podcast.
Yeah, everyone should bear with us for this one.
Yeah, because we will get better. We will, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing about the ending. So, what do you take away from that shot after Kakihara? I think he jumps. Some people think that Ichi actually did kill him, but I think he jumped off and killed himself, right? Like that was the implication.
I didn't really tell. I don't. Like when I watched it, I did think like that Ichi did like killed him, but now that you mention it, it is very likely that he killed himself.
Because he sees him and it's like the color grading is different. It's like blue or kind of bluish, and like you see him standing there with the kid's head in his hand, and then he runs toward him and he kicks him, picks him up and kicks him off. And it's like, oh, this is great. Yeah, and then the thing with the thing in his forehead and it's gone. So I took that he just killed himself. But I didn't get the shot after that. You see him sitting in like a bathtub. In,
Yeah, I
like,
was
his,
just about to mention that. That's what I was
and like
gonna
his
bring
mouth
up.
opens, and was that implied that Gigi did something with him? Like he dragged him away or something, or like is it supposed to be like he's still alive? Because like first off, I think that would suck if it's like, oh, he's still alive. I think it's a great ending to his character. But I don't know, like what was the implication there, or was that just like But like, what was that? It was just a weird Miike thing they just threw in there because, like, I don't know, like, what was the point of that shot? I didn't. And like the really cheesy CGI mouth opens up. Like, what was
Yeah,
that?
there's definitely a lot of things
Yeah.
to unpack with it. I don't really understand everything, but it is a great ending.
Yeah, it almost feels like, um, in a I don't know, a movie where it's like a character dies and it's like actually a post credit scene. He's still alive. It almost felt like that. Almost like I don't know. I don't quite get what that's supposed to
It
mean,
did
but
feel like that, but it felt like more. It felt deeper than that for some reason. I don't feel like he was. I don't think Miike would do like something so
yeah,
generic.
yeah. But it just sort of felt like that. Like the implication
Yeah,
was
it
that he's
did
still
for
alive.
sure, for sure.
Yeah. I really like. Just side note. I really loved when just little things Kakihara does, like when he breathes the smoke out from his cut open cheeks. Like that was
Oh,
really cool. Like he like breathes it like he doesn't like their gills or something. That was kind of cool. Or
yeah, his introduction scene was great.
yeah, and that's the whole thing where it's like it's got some good transitions. Like goes from the room being covered in blood to it being clean to Kakihara standing there. Like that was a cool transition.
Yeah.
Or like I think later in the movie there's one I wrote down in my notes. He's like I think I talked about it earlier. Kakihara like breaks that woman's hand, or like her fingers, and she starts screaming, and then it cuts mid scream to like the guy in like withdrawal, like ripping up the room, and there's pillows all over, and he's screaming, and then he's like inside TV. That really weird scene when he's like
Oh
sitting
yeah,
inside TV, and
that
it's
was
like that
funny.
was a cool transition. Yeah,
Yeah. I really like that. That was also one of those moments I considered comedic, like when it just cuts that dude inside the TV,
yeah,
and he's
yeah. It's
just
just like
taped up, and it's just like so random, and it was really funny. Um,
yeah,
Also, yeah, talking about this movie, I wanted to kind of shout out like how like we talked about the effects and stuff, but I really I thought like its use of music was really good. Just kind
yes,
of how
yeah.
Miike plays like some really kind of upbeat music during scenes, and it kind of just adds this sort of vibe to it.
Yeah,
Kind
like
of
the
puts you, like
scene
some
when
sort of trance kind of.
yeah, like I really love I think I forget if it's called Ichi's theme or Kakihara's theme, but it's like it plays throughout the movie several times. It's a really cool theme. Apparently in the commentary they talked about this. Apparently the composer um he made all the music after like reading the manga, so he like made the music for like to the manga for the movie. He didn't actually like watch the whole movie and make the music for specific scenes. So that was interesting. I don't
Yeah.
really hear that being done often, but also
But it's very
quick thing.
well, yeah, for
At
sure.
one point, Kakihara's phone rings, and it's like his theme on the as the ringtone. I thought that was kind of
Oh, does it? I
interesting
didn't
little
notice
detail.
that. How he uses music was really good, and also the camera work in general was great. Like he utilizes a lot of different lenses and stuff to just kind of make for a really cool and unique kind of style, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Like the opening scene. It's like the really quick pace. You see it like sort of like fast forward time lapse through the city. It's like I think it's like Ichi on his bike. And then it's like the guy's talking and the camera will like sort of jump back and forth. It almost reminded me of like in the Gaspar Noé movie I Stand Alone. There's like really weird cuts in the editing in that
Yeah,
with
the
like
opening
a lot of
scene.
noise. Yeah, reminded me of that. And also later in the movie, in the last scene or second last scene, whatever, on the rooftop part, is I really like the like slow motion, the use of slow motion there, adds to like the intensity of the scene and like the distorted sounds and music, in the whole like rooftop, or at least part of the rooftop sequence was really cool.
Yeah,
Also like when Kakihara deafens himself with his what are those like
yeah,
needles,
that
like long needles, that he has, but he like deafens himself and you just hear all the sound like distort and then go completely out. That was like an
yeah,
interesting effect.
yeah. Ichi screaming in like a $1 microphone.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm assuming my audio sounds like since I don't have
Yeah,
a
it's
decent
not as
mic.
bad as Ichi was in that scene.
Yeah.
Stand assured, yeah.
So, do we have anything more to say about this movie, or
I think we pretty much
Final
covered
thoughts?
everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Yeah.
said pretty much everything I had to say, honestly.
Should we give her a rating? So are we gonna kind of give a rating to it, or is that something we should do? Or
Yeah, sure. We should all say our rating for it. I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of.
I would give it a 9 out of 10. I'm very strict with my ratings. I rarely give stuff 10 out of 10 because I just save that for movies that are like really connected to me in a special way. But if I ever loosen that up, I'll give this a 10. But yeah, it's a solid 9 out of 10 for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite here. I'm very, 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 very chill with my ratings. I rate pretty much everything a 9 or a 10. So this movie is a 9. But I do generally really like it.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I have to pick one. I'm gonna go
No, you
8 out of
don't.
10. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 because I
Nice.
really appreciate the way it was written, and although the style's not for me per se, I do think everyone should watch it, and it's a really good film.
Good. So we all got very positive ratings for it.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
good.
film we all like,
Yeah.
so that's a great
Yeah.
way to start it off. Great way to start the podcast off.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, might be talking about some more Takeshi Miike movies down the road.
Hopefully,
Yeah, give me an
yeah.
excuse to check out more of his filmography because I really need
Yeah.
to get on that.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Gozu?
I have not seen Gozu.
Don't think so. No, I haven't.
Oh man,
No.
that's such a weird
I-
movie. Like
I
I've
do
said,
wanna
like
see
I
it,
said
yeah.
before, it's like Takeshi Miike made a David Lynch movie. It's
That's
Kind of. It's-
see now that's what's getting me to really want to watch it because like Takeshi Miike times David Lynch, like
yeah. I mean,
gotta see it
you
to
know,
believe it.
David Lynch has his own whole thing going. It's nothing like Miike, but there's some really very surreal elements to it, mixed with Miike style of like comedy and very weird violence, and it's sort of a horror movie actually. It's really interesting. I might recommend it at some point.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to watch that one.
So, I don't really know how to.
And
What's next? We don't really have like a segue between talking about the movie and
We'll have to work on the closing.
yeah, we might have to talk about I don't know, something else, like figure out like a section to talk about something else at some other point, but we'll figure that out as the podcast goes along.
For sure. Yeah.
well, don't forget to share this with friends if you got any
Smash that like
interested in
Yeah.
Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, and if you know anybody
yeah.
that likes this movie or just likes movies in general, just
Yeah.
check it. And we got more episodes coming out of very similar movies, or not similar
Yeah.
movies, but just
Yeah, we're gonna
Movies
try
in
and do
general.
this. Try and do this weekly. I'm not sure how. We're still figuring out the scheduling of it. We don't have a solid, like a concrete time we're gonna record these, but we're gonna try to have them out weekly. This will probably be uploaded on Monday, I'm thinking. Right now,
Yeah.
it's
yes. It's
Yeah.
Saturday
Is it-
night, right? Well, actually, no. Because
Saturday
we're
night,
on,
it's
we're on
technically
different
Sunday
time
morning.
zones, actually.
Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
So that's a pain in the ass to try to work the schedule around, but the time zones. But it's 4 a.m. here. But I don't
12
mind.
here.
I don't mind talking.
Well, 1 a.m, actually. But
Mm.
yeah.
So Dan, you had a recommendation for
Yes. Okay.
next
So
episode's podcast.
we have up next a Terry Gilliam film, The Fisher King.
Ooh.
Ooh.
If anybody listening to Ichi the Killer right now wants to check out The Fisher King and see us discuss it next week,
At
Yeah.
the time of recording, have not seen this movie yet, and I'm
me
I'm
neither.
looking forward to it
neither.
because
I'm not.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see it because I'm a big fan of Terry Gilliam. I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Brazil. I forget if I've seen any of his other stuff, but I've been
Monty
meaning to watch
Python.
more of his filmography.
Holy Grail.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that actually. Yeah.
You haven't seen The Holy Grail? Oh, you
The
should.
Holy
haven't.
Grail is,
I
of
haven't.
course, a great movie. I didn't like Fear and Loathing actually as much as I wanted to. I liked the movie, but I didn't like love it.
Neither.
But
I
I just
love
need
that
to give it a
movie.
rewatch.
Like top 10 for me.
Um,
Oh, and
but yeah,
12
Holy
Monkeys.
Grail, of course.
I also saw 12 Monkeys, which was pretty good. Yeah, I need to see. I need to see more Gilliam. He's got interesting stuff. Holy Grail, Life of Brian, um, Fisher King, Time Bandits. Yeah, he's a very interesting director, for sure.
Time
Yeah.
Bandits.
Time Bandits. And Fisher King, that has a Criterion release, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Didn't you get the Criterion down, or you sent a picture?
Yeah, I bought the Criterion yesterday.
Nice. Yeah. So that will be next episode's discussion. And also this podcast. It's not, even though the first episode, whoever made it to the end here, even though the first episode is about Ichi the Killer, we're not going to always just talk about weird movies or weird violent movies like this. We're going to try and talk about a whole variety of different types of movies.
For sure, it's gonna go all over the place. You know, classic
Yeah.
movie here, weird
Here it's,
underground movie there,
it will be a long day's journey to film, as the
comic book movie there.
name
No.
suggests.
Yeah. He said the name. He said the name.
Yeah, so that's about it for this episode. I'm not exactly sure how long we've been recording for, but
I think
figure
it's
been at least
I think
an
it's
hour.
near 2 hours. Yeah. No,
2
not 2
hours.
hours.
Shit.
Wow.
An hour and a half. An hour and a half.
Hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, check out the next episode if you want to hear us talk more about Terry Gilliam's The Fisher King.
Yeah, and we'll see you next week for The Fisher
Alright.
King. Thank you guys so
That's
much for
about it.
listening.